Good morning, everyone. Oh, it's going to be the last kind of warmer day here. We had a nice day yesterday here. Not too cold, but it's going to get -1 or 2 degrees, so it's going to be -5 to 10 here, no doubt in my mind. It's the place we live at is incredibly interesting. It's a microclimate, and it has extreme hot temperatures and it has extreme cold temperatures at times. Yet in a microclimate, you never know when it's going to happen. So we're ready. I had again my husband here yesterday, helped us, stacked all the wood here again, so we won't have to go even out to the woodshed for a while. So nice, right? Yes. Ooh. It feels great to be taken care of. Then, while he was doing that, I said, "Can you wrap some presents for me?" I'm going, "Yeah," and I'll cook for you again too. So we done all that, and then he's going up to our children's. Won't be able to travel this year, mainly because you can't leave one person here on their own in temperatures like this, and I'm not leaving my sis alone here, who's staying behind. So everyone else has flown the coop, and I said, that's all right. I was there last year with all my children. This year, it's I have to make sometimes decisions that doesn't please everyone. But to me, it's the right decision. I'm happy to make that decision, and I have no desire to be out there in that type of weather. Okay, so it all works out just well. Right? Yes. According to just me, what I want, this not no. I'm just doing my 5%. All right. I'm doing my 3%, my 2%, right? Yep, and you have reached your 5% of responsibility in your life on earth as a human being. Then you have reached 100%. Guess what? The other 95% isn't up to us. That's not our. If we take away, again, sometimes people argue about these kind of things, and it's a little silly to me because in anything, you may have some input into someone else's work, life work, and all that. But to say then, mostly though, it is theirs. You may have contributed a certain percentage to it, right? But to suddenly say that in a project where you were actually just a helper anyway, to say you've done this 100% and take all the credit, that's a little silly, isn't it? So why would I want to take the 95% credit that all goes to whom? Huh? When it comes to my life, when it comes to earth, when it comes to my blessings, when it comes to anything. Yes? Who does that 95% go to? Huh? Why would I want to take credit for that? So, as I said, we only are responsible for 5% to do all that 5% in our life, right and proper. That's all we need to do. And when you look at your life, you know. I was thinking about giving birth this morning, and I thought we give birth in so many different ways. Right? And to give birth to a child as a woman, man, it's a touch and go every time. Every time you never quite know what's going to happen. You don't. Right? So I give the best of my 5% to that. Every woman who gives birth does that. That 5% is there. Right? But the 95%, otherwise, is all God's. It's all God's. For every life. For every life. Right? Yes? Yeah. And that falls short. It's never. because God didn't do his 95%. Okay? Yeah. Well, just saying. Right? Yes? All right. So, let's get going here. So, we reach that 5%. We call it the perfection level in the divine principle. Interesting book to read, I suggested. I read it 8 times, and every time I read it again, or even just a passage out of it, because I'm quite familiar with it now, I have to say, oh, wait a minute, I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it that way. Right there. But eventually, you get older, this and that, you reach, we're in the, okay, it's called the perfection stage. Doesn't mean you're perfect, right? Yes? But if we continue to strive to fulfill our 5% here on earth as a human being, right, then what? Oh, so what is that? What includes that 5%? You know what? Even if you're not the smartest tool in the shed, your conscience will tell you. You know, right? If a human being is honest with themselves, honest with themselves, with their life, their surroundings, what they've been doing, not doing, this, they know. You know exactly what you've done right. And you know exactly where you still lack. You know. Right? Yes? That's a no-brainer for me, so I don't have to explain that. There. Because when you start explaining, people just want to argue with you. Oh, aren't I a smarty pants? Yeah, well, there you go. All right. I got things to do today. And I really have to, now this is important to make sure that everybody's in everywhere, got everything. And because there are going to be some trying days here. And hopefully we're set to lose power. No big deal here, but I have to say I'm praying we're not going to lose power. This would be a time, where you have to kind of almost expect to lose power. So hopefully not. Hopefully everyone will stay warm. Okay. And keep their water. Yeah, that's another big one around here. Exodus 7. Yahweh then said to Moses, "Look, I have made you as a god for Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron is to be your prophet. Oh. You must say whatever I command you, and your brother Aaron will repeat to Pharaoh that he is to let the Israelites leave his country. But I myself shall make Pharaoh stubborn, and I'm not getting this part, and shall perform many a sign and wonder in Egypt." Now, why would he... Not sure why that is necessary. I'm not getting that quite. So, again, you see? Okay, but wouldn't it be better if the Pharaoh just says, "Oh, yeah, go ahead and go. Yeah, I'm not gonna, I don't know. I did read some of the historical stuff. Your God's way too powerful. I ain't gonna mess with your God." So does what? God want to leave some kind of an impression behind with the Pharaoh? Not getting it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why that is in there. It's, again, something where 95% of everything and trying to figure out, is that's a big portion to just 5%. Yes? But it seems like God can't do it, right, with the 5% that we are. We are it, the 5%. So, how can one, who only is responsible for the 5% in our life, really, to get that straight and right and going in the right direction, and we have all this, a lot of us have a lot of time to do that. How can we understand the 95% that is in God's hands, right? Yes? Yeah? Well, someone wrote this down, not sure why. Maybe they already knew the story. Now, again, what if one were to just write down exactly everything that happened right at the time when it happened? rather than afterwards when you already have a lot of the information and now you have to make sense out of the information and make a story out of it, right? Yes? Well, then there is that. So we don't really know. But since Pharaoh will not listen to you, I shall lay my hand on Egypt and with great acts of judgment lead my armies, my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. And the Egyptians will know that I am Yahweh when I stretch out my hand against the Egyptians and lead the Israelites out of their country. Moses and Aaron did exactly as Yahweh had ordered. Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. Man, they were old men. Okay. So, see, I just said something beforehand. Now, God can only work in people's lives when, as I said, we take some responsibility. Now, if people become obstinate and stubborn, that's why it's in there, right? And decide that, well, we don't want to listen to any teachings anymore. We want to do our own thing. We want to do our own thing. We want our absolute freedom in everything. It doesn't matter how it affects anyone else. Then God can't be there with his portion of responsibility, right? Because what we also just did, or what people do, is they take away the portion that belongs to God. Right? Now you want to be the inventor. You want to be the creator. You want to be the absolute out there, right? And your word goes. And your whatever you want out there. And if you're a leader with your people, that's what goes. And you're completely disregarding what belongs to God. Completely. Yeah. Then what's God supposed to do? Yeah. Can't do a thing. And he can't do a thing for your people. If you're a leader out there like that, if you're a head of the household like that, anywhere, it doesn't matter where, yeah, then you're on your own. And sadly, the people under you are on their own as well. Right? I don't like to hear on how the Egyptians are getting punished or judged by God. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Because there's a lot of innocent people there, aren't there? And yet, who made the choice? Who made the choice to take the design away from God and not give God credit? Who did? Then the rest has to suffer too. Yeah, that's okay. Well, there you go. You ask, you admit, I'm not quite getting this. Why is that in there? It comes up again. You admit, you say, okay, I got to keep learning. I got to do my 5%. God's working his 95%. And then suddenly you have a little epiphany going. I don't know. Is it? Does it work that way? God gives all the time. If we're willing to receive. There you go. Oh, thanks, guys. Nice. Got it. True Mother, by the way, started this 95% thing. Oh, everybody in the church is all, it doesn't matter which group has splintered off doing their own thing, or within the church, everybody's up in arms about it. What? Nobody gets it. I got it. I thought about it. I knew I have to trust 100% that there are people here on this earth that are doing God's will 100%. And true parents are. True Mother now left is. And I can't let anyone disrupt my giving, my respect for that. And the amazing thing is, I've been thinking, okay, why would True Mother say that? What's going on with that? That. And I kept okay, there has to be a reason. There has to be a really good reason. And I dug deep down into all of my teachings, all of my knowledge, what I have learned, and realized, oh, wait a second. Well, yeah, where's the 5%? She's not mentioning the 5%. Because if she were to mention a 5%, then again, it's like, would people understand it? Where the 95% goes to? It's interesting. It's just interesting. She, in a way, in so many ways, teaches just like Jesus. It's really odd. All right. I know that's not making a whole lot of sense to most people out there, but just when you have a question about certain things, you're going, but how does that make sense? Or, no, God's not that way. I've struggled with this story. Because I know God's not a vengeful God. God is not, there's no way. What am I misunderstanding here, right? And I just got an answer. I just did it again. And God won't go to court. Okay, you want to take credit for all this? All right, I guess I'll have to wait until you realize there's no way you can. Calamities will befall you then, yeah? Not because I want it that way, but it's just the way it is. You can't change that. You can't just change things around as a human being in your own world because you want to. Most likely things are not going to go well. Anyway. So, the plagues of Egypt. The staff turned into a snake. Yahweh said to Moses and Aaron, if Pharaoh says to you, display some marvel, you must say to Aaron, take your staff and throw it down in front of Pharaoh, and let it turn into a serpent. Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did as Yahweh had ordered. Aaron threw down his staff in front of Pharaoh and his officials, and it turned into a serpent. The Pharaoh in his turn called for the sages and sorcerers, and by their spells the magicians of Egypt did the same. Each threw his staff down, and these turned into serpents. But Aaron's staff swallowed up theirs. Pharaoh, however, remained obstinate, and, as Yahweh had foretold, refused to listen to Moses and Aaron. Now, so the staff and the serpent. Now, I want to remind you. What does that remind you of? The story when you read it. So, do you see the staff thrown on the ground? There is a snake. Then he gets all his dudes in this net, and they throw down their staffs. They turn all into snakes. Yet, which one swallows up what? What did God also try to tell Moses? You need to speak. You need to let the Pharaoh know. Right? We're not exactly sure what was meant with that. All we know is go to the Pharaoh, tell him this, tell him that. We don't really exactly know what did actually Aaron. And Moses says, I can't speak. I need some help. He doesn't need help to just throw that staff down on the ground. Doesn't take even a word. Right? So he has Aaron, and Aaron's throwing the staff. It's not Moses who threw the staff down. It was Aaron who threw the staff down. So what did Aaron do? He probably was reasoning with the Pharaoh. Yes? Yeah. And gave some things. Some stuff's going to happen here. And just letting you know, as the advisor, God told me to let you know, you better let us go, because otherwise this won't work out well. You're taking too much credit for things that are not yours. Okay? So here's the Pharaoh listening, going, I got my own. Come on, guys. Come on. And they'd say, well, you know what? I'm telling you what did they do? They're going to flatter their Pharaoh. Flatter him with words, this, that, right? Yes? And here's Aaron's. Aaron's, though, is stronger. Aaron's staff is stronger. Right? And no matter how they flatter the Pharaoh, in a way the Pharaoh realizes, yeah, I know what they're doing, but Aaron is honest with me in many ways. Right? He's honest with me, but I can't give in to that. That's exactly what's happening there. Interesting. The first plague, the water turns to blood. Yahweh then said to Moses, Pharaoh is adamant. He refuses to let the people go. Go to Pharaoh tomorrow morning as he makes his way to the water. Confront him on the river bank, and in your hand take the staff that turned into a snake. Say to him, Yahweh, God of the Hebrews, sent me to say, let my people go and worship in the desert. Up till now you have refused to listen. This is what Yahweh says. You will know that I am Yahweh by this, with the staff that is in my hand, and I shall strike the waters of the river, and they will turn to blood. The fish in the river will die, and the river will stink, and the Egyptians will not be able to drink the river water. Yahweh said to Moses, say to Aaron, take your staff and stretch out your hand over the waters of Egypt, over their rivers and canals, their marshland and all their reservoirs, and it will turn to blood. There will be blood throughout the whole of Egypt, even in sticks and stones. Moses and Aaron did as Yahweh ordered. He raised his staff and struck the waters of the river, with Pharaoh and his officials looking on, and all the water in the river turned to blood. The fish in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could no longer drink the river water. Throughout the whole of Egypt there was blood, but by their spells the magicians of Egypt did the same. Pharaoh remained obstinate, and, as Yahweh had foretold, he refused to listen to Moses and Aaron. Pharaoh turned away and went back into his palace, taking no notice even of this. And the Egyptians all dug holes along the river bank in search of drinking water, since they could not drink the river water after Yahweh struck the river. 7 days went by. Now, the interesting part in this one again, okay, what did actually really happen there? Well, something happened. I'm not sure. Did it happen with the water? Did it exactly happen as it said there? But it's not just the Egyptians that are, right, affected by that. What about the Israelites? It doesn't say anywhere, right, that Moses and Aaron went back and said, okay, you guys need to store water for 7 days at least, or this or that, because the water will not be drinkable. Okay? Because that's just how our path is going to go until we can leave, until the Pharaoh gives the okay. Yeah, so the Israelites didn't have anything to drink then either. So what really happened here? I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what that first plague is all about. None. Zero. I really honestly have to say. So we better just go on. The phone's ringing. I can't talk right now. I gotta finish this up first. The second plague, the frogs. Then Yahweh said to Moses, go to Pharaoh and say to him, Yahweh says this, let my people go and worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I shall strike your whole territory with frogs. The river will swarm with frogs. They will make their way into your palace, into your bedroom, onto your bed, into the houses of your officials and subjects, into your ovens, into your knitting bowls. The frogs will actually clamber onto you, onto your subjects, and onto all your officials. Frog legs, not bad to eat at all. Frogs. I don't know. Most frogs aren't poisonous. I have no idea what kind of frogs there are in Egypt. Interesting. We should go check that out. I'm going to write this down. What kind of frogs? There we go. Again, somebody really needs me. I guess we'll leave the rest for tomorrow or something, because somebody really needs to talk to me. When they call twice, it could be an emergency. So we're going to go for it, right? Yes? Well, that was 7. In Exodus, God's love and blessings always. May He protect you. Be careful out in the freezing weather. Suppose flash freeze. I've never heard of a flash freeze, but supposedly we're getting one. And I will talk to y'all another time.